Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Addiction, compulsion, powerlessness, Jekyll and Hyde, autopilot, ruination, self-sabotage, train wreck, insanity. Hello and welcome back to the Unfiltered Rebuild. Today I'm tackling a concept that's at the heart of the struggle with alcohol, insanity. Now I'm not talking about a clinical diagnosis. I'm talking about that phrase we all know, the one that haunts us in quiet moments. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. For anyone who has ever sworn off drinking on Sunday only to find themselves rationalising a glass of wine by Thursday, this isn't just a clever quote, it's a biography. So today I'm breaking down why alcohol creates this specific brand of insanity, and more importantly, what science and experience tells us about how to break the cycle for good. My definition of insanity is one that I lived for years. My insanity wasn't always loud or dramatic. It was in 1,000 small, quiet moments that added up. It was the constantly telling myself I was cleaning up after a party just to stay up and drink alone without judgment. It was my partner giving me the 10-minute warning before we had to leave, and in those 10 minutes I'd find 10 drinks. It was choosing to skip a family holiday because the fear of being without my secret supply was greater than the fear of missing the memories. My life became a series of excuses. Achievement, that called for a reward. Trouble, that demanded an escape. Changing the weather, a reason to drink. Any excuse would do. I hid bottles. I made solemn promises to myself at dawn that I'd shattered by dusk. I'd swear I'd only have 2 and then wake up with no memory of the last 6. And every single time with a conviction that felt like faith, I truly believed this time would be different. That was the insanity. The unwavering expectation of a new result, standing in the shadow of a mountain of evidence proving it impossible. The science behind insanity is that it's not a failure of character. But here is the most liberating truth I had to learn. This isn't a moral failing. This isn't a lack of willpower. This is biology. Alcohol hijacks your brain survival system. When you do something necessary for survival, like eating, your brain releases a little dopamine, a chemical that says, hey, that was good, do it again. Alcohol, it floods your system with dopamine, teaching your brain on a primal level that drinking is as crucial as eating or drinking water. This creates what is called the insanity loop, the part of your brain responsible for rational thought and impulse control. The prefrontal cortex gets impaired by alcohol. Meanwhile, the amygdala, your primal emotional center that screams for relief from stress or discomfort, takes over. It's a neurological civil war, and your rational mind is fighting with one hand tied behind its back. For those who have relapsed, there is another powerful factor, the Kindling Effect. Research shows that with each cycle of withdrawal and relapse, the brain's reaction becomes more severe. Withdrawal symptoms get worse and cravings become more intense. It's not that you're getting weaker. The psychological pull is literally getting stronger. That's not a character flaw. It's a neurological fact. How then do we break the cycle and rewire for sanity? So if our own brain is working against us, how do we break the cycle? Well, we'll have to introduce new sober tools to rewire the system. First, disrupt the pattern. Insanity thrives on autopilot. If you always crack a beer the moment you walk in the door, you need to plan for that exact time. Go for a 5-minute walk. Call a friend in recovery. Do a Sudoku puzzle or jigsaw. You're not trying to solve your whole life in that moment. You're just creating a speed bump for the habit. Second, play the tape forward. When that insane voice whispers, just one won't hurt, pause. Consciously play the entire tape in your mind, not just the first sip, but the loss of control, the shame the next morning, the reset recovery clock. Remember the actual result, not the fantasy. And third, consider seeking professional help. There are medications like antabuse and acamprosate that can help rebalance brain chemistry and reduce cravings, giving your rational brain a fighting chance. This isn't cheating. It's treating a medical condition. There are medically proven treatments that can directly reduce the physiological pull of alcohol. We can then start to move away from the cycle of insanity and into the cycle of recovery. Recovery then is the process of replacing that old definition of insanity with the new one. Maybe the new definition of sanity is doing something different over and over again until you get a new result or forming a new habit. Sanity is picking up the phone instead of the bottle. Over and over, it's going to a meeting when you don't want to. Over and over, it's being brutally honest about your cravings. Over and over. Slowly, these new behaviors build new neural pathways. The cycle of insanity gets replaced by a cycle of recovery where your default setting becomes strength and not surrender. Thank you for listening. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with one person who might need to hear it. You can find links to all the research and support resources I've mentioned, like the NHS, Alcoholics Anonymous, the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, and information on medication-assisted treatment in the show notes. If you're in the thick of the insanity cycle right now, please know that it can be broken. You've already taken a step by listening. Remember, this is the Unfiltered Rebuild. Be kind to yourself, and until next time, stay safe.
Free audio post-production by life.The.